Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Regiment review. Today we will be reviewing the Death Korps of Krieg. I know this is one that many of you are very excited about. But just before we get into that, a couple of quick reminders. Don't worry, it won't be as long as the last video. I just want to remind everyone that there's still a chance for you all to enter the Patreon supporter giveaway. This month's giveaway is a Lemus Bath Tank with Pask upgrade. So if you want to be with a chance to win that, all you have to do is go over to my Patreon page, sign up minimum $1 or as maximum as much as you want, and you will be in with a chance of winning this month's prize, which will be announced, if this video goes out on time, it will be announced tomorrow. Okay, other thing is, if you're interested in some custom Mordian glory dice, the price will be £1 per dice, hopefully, if we can get lots and lots of people interested. All you have to do at this point is express your interest by sending me an email to oddworldinhabitant1293@gmail.com. There will be a link down in the description below. The final time to be in a chance of entering that sort of custom order will be when I get back from holiday, which will be the end of September. I'm going to be on holiday from Sunday the 8th until about the 20th of 23rd of September. Okay, so videos may not be going up then, but I'll see if I can schedule some stuff with YouTube. Okay, admin stuff out the way, channel updates out the way. Let's get into this regiment review, which I know a huge amount of you are going to be extremely excited about. So, as per my other regiment reviews, we'll have a very quick fluff overview. There was a lot more fluff on the Death Korps of Krieg out there. Lots of people have done plenty of fluff videos on it. Go and check out Arch Warhammer. He's done a really in-depth Siege of Vrak / Death Korps of Krieg fluff video. But I'll give you a quick overview, which is Krieg was once a very lustrous planet in the Imperium. It was very industrious, very well populated. Very good. It was considered a major contributing planet. Life was good on Krieg. Life was very good. However, the problem was that the Imperium didn't really check in on Krieg all that often, because no point in checking in on somewhere if it's doing fine. They would pay their tithes. They would do. They would make sure that Krieg was obeying the laws of the Imperium, but apart from that, Krieg was pretty much left to run it by its own devices. And over the course of generations, the planetary governors, of which there was sort of a cabal of governors, it wasn't just one, slowly but surely became embittered towards the Imperium, because they thought that why are we giving away all this stuff? Our own planet could benefit so much more if we weren't giving away of our sort of 10% annual output to the Imperium. We could be giving so much more. And so they decided, over many generations, to secede from the Imperium. That's what they tried. That's what they wanted to do. And finally, the day came when they realised that the Imperium was weak, that other things were going on in the galaxy, and they launched their coup. And the majority of the Imperial Guard regiment stationed there, their commanders had been turned. The majority of the planetary defense forces had been turned, and the planet looked like it was going to successfully secede from the Imperium. The Imperium didn't have a lot they could do to respond to it. However, there was one commander, Colonel Yerton, who stayed loyal to the Imperium and held out as best as he could, and he requested support and aid from the Imperium to stop the rebellion, and he received very little orders. Essentially received orders which was, you must make do with what you've got. We can't go and help you at this time. You must hold the line. But at the bottom of the last communique was a set of launch codes, and unknown to the rest of the planet, the city which Yerton had managed to hold up in was a big hive city. Was actually a stockpile, an ancient stockpile which only the Adeptus Mechanicus knew about, of atomic weapons. Atomics aren't really liked in 40k for one reason or another, but he was given permission by his last orders. It was very clear: any means necessary to secure the planet. And so, before the rebels could react appropriately, Colonel Jurgen launched thousands upon thousands of nuclear missiles at pre-designated targets all over the planet, and essentially reduced the planet to an atomic wasteland. Over the next 500 years, piece by piece, the forces loyal to the Imperium took back the planet. 500 years of atomic war and normal warfare. He finally managed to bring the planet, Colonel Jurgen finally managed to bring the planet back to the Imperium. As a result, the Death Corps of Krieg are some of the most unhinged bastards in the Imperium. When they finally after 500 years, took back the planet, they immediately got in contact with the Administrator and said, "We've got the planet back." And the Administrator went, "Oh, right, kind of forgot what was going on Krieg. We sort of just assumed it was lost. Okay, well, we'll give you some time to recover, but you're going to have to start being a contributing planet again pretty soon. The Imperium, needs you." And the Krieg said, "Well, we haven't got any resources left, really. I mean, we sort of nuked the whole planet. It's kind of a hellhole." And the Imperium was about to be on the verge of saying, "Well, you're a non-compliant world, so even though you've taken back a non-contributing world, so even though you've taken back the planet, you're going to get cut loose." And the new leaders of Krieg said, "Well, we do have an army which has been forged in battle over the last 500 years. We want to serve the Imperium, and we have an army and the tactics which have been honed in battle for 500 years. And the Imperium said, "Well, if you can, contribute a regiment, then we'll let you back in." And Krieg said, "That's not a problem. We've got 20 regiments ready." So the Administrator let them back in, and since then Krieg has been churning out regiments like there's no tomorrow. They've got some sort of, it's kind of cloning but not cloning facilities. It's pretty crazy. And Krieg is now, like Katachan, its contribution to the Imperium is soldiers. Krieg regiments, so that's the fluff. Battle style, Krieg regiments, it's World War One in space, guys. There's no way to put this. It's World War One Western Front in space. It is trench warfare for days. It is bayonet charges for days, except for its World War One trench warfare combined with the fanaticism of World War Two warfare on sort of the Eastern Front, where both sides just would not give in. So as a result, the Krieg are absolutely die-hard motherfuckers. And that is reflected in their regiment trait. Now, technically, Krieg don't have a regiment trait. They've just got a special rule. That's because Krieg, it's an index army. Crazy. It's a Forge World index army. So I imagine if Krieg was to be released, they would get the regiment. They would get a regiment. But technically, they don't have regiment. They've just got a special rule, and that rule is the Cult of Sacrifice, and it is pretty simple. When taking morale tests, ignore casualties inflicted in the shooting phase. Essentially, guys, essentially, you don't take leadership tests from being shot at. The only time Krieg units take leadership tests is when they lose casualties in the assault phase. Okay. Now, Krieg does not have any unique Warlord traits. But it does have, fortunately, access to the regular book Warlord traits. You don't just have to use the regular Codex Warlord trait, I should say. So you don't have to use the big rulebook traits. You can use those, but you do have access to Grand Strategist, Old Grudges, and Blackwater Determination, Draconian Discipline, Bellowing Voice, and Master of Command. Interestingly, where Krieg differs is on the orders front. So they have the same tank orders, but they have a couple of their own unique infantry orders. First one being Without Mercy. Basically, this replaces first rank fire, second rank fire, and arguably it's not as good. Arguably. what it means is your weapons, without mercy, your lasguns and hotshot lasguns become pistol 2. So the problem with this is that pistol 2 means you get 2 shots at any range, which, like first rank fire, second rank fire, over 12 inches, that's great. It's the same, you know, you've got 2 shots with first rank fire, second rank fire over 2 inches, over 12 inches. You've got the same without mercy. However, first rank fire, second rank fire, when you get within 12 inches, you get 4 shots because you rapid fire 2. So, but without mercy, you're still stuck on 2 because it's pistol 2. So the problem is that you put out just less rifle shots, which is awkward because it's kind of like, sure, you could stay in combat, you know, because pistol 2 would allow you to fire those lasguns in combat, but it's one unit is going to get to shoot the units in combat with. It's not like you can fall back, you know, that means you're not falling back and the rest of your army is piling into that unit that made contact with you. See, it's overall you are worse with that without mercy. Now the advantage it does have, weirdly, is that once you don't need to close to rapid fire range. Even though Death Korps Krieg are kind of like meant to be this close combat bayonet charge army, weirdly you can gunline really well with them because everyone essentially who receives without mercy gets 2 shots at long range. Think about it, that's great. You also have duty unto death. Any infantry or cavalry model in the effect unit slain in the fight phase makes one last attack. Okay, it's not good because you have access to fixed bayonets. That order is essentially useless. You have access to fixed bayonets, which lets you attack again in the shooting phase and then attack again in the fight phase. Duty unto death just means when you die, you get to fight once, one attack. If you've got duty unto death is fundamentally worse because if you've got fixed bayonets and a minister on priest around, then you get 2 attacks in the shooting phase. But duty unto death means you just get 1 attack when you die. So duty unto death is terrible. One thing to mention is Death Korps Krieg have access to fixed bayonets. Everyone does, but the way they differ is that they can give fixed bayonets to their cavalry because they have something called Death Riders. Death Riders are like Rough Riders on steroids, but unlike Rough Riders, which don't have a regiment, Death Riders do. They have the Death Korps Krieg. So you can order Death Korps Krieg Death Riders. You cannot order Rough Riders. Okay. They don't have any unique psychic powers. They don't have any unique stratagems, but they can get access to both the psychic powers of the Guard Codex and the stratagems of the Guard Codex. Now, they have access to pretty much all the same weapons that the regular Guard does, but they do have some pretty unique units. Okay? And some, it's pretty unique units. So the first one is you get a Death Korps Marshal. Now, he is basically a company commander. But he comes with a 4+ armor save and comes with crack grenades, which is actually really cool. Also, you can give him a upgrade called the Memento Mori, which means all weapons that roll damage, multi-damage weapons, count as a 1. And I believe that is for shooting and combat. So it means it makes him tough to kill with multi-damage weapons. You have to do 4 wounds to him. You can't shoot 1 multi-damage weapon at him. You also have a special character called Marshal Chris Venner, who is a super marshal, essentially. He comes with a lot of stuff. He comes with Hotshot, Las Pistol, Power Sword, Memento Mori. He can issue 3 orders, and he lets friendly units within 12 inches use his leadership value unless their initiative is higher. Now, that's interesting because you can combine Venner's leadership with something like a platoon or regimental standard to give him leadership 11. So actually, Death Korps of Krieg units within 11 inches of Venner, they get leadership 11, which is really, really good. Now, the problem is that you don't take leadership tests from shooting anyway, and you don't really want... Sorry, that's what I called him, Karis Venner. You don't really want Karis Venner near the front lines. He's probably going to be your warlord. He's got 3 orders. You don't really want him near the front. It is useful, but you are kind of paying through the nose for that ability. I would take him for the 3 orders and treat the leadership buff as nice. You also get access into the Death Korps Field Officer, which is a platoon commander equivalent, but he's an HQ choice. So he's only 20. It's 23 points for an HQ choice. So he is the cheapest HQ, but he only can do 1 order. He does come with 4+ armor save though. Now you do also get Cavalry Officers, Death Korps, Death Rider, Squadron Commander. These guys are absolutely fantastic. The cavalry, they've got extra toughness set for wounds, all that kind of stuff. But I think the best thing about a Death Korps guy is he allows you to outflank himself and up to 3 other Death Korps cavalry units. So you could outflank him, 5 Death Korps Death Rider units, and you've got yourself some decent outflanking cavalry. And don't forget, he can order them as well. He is only got 1 order though, so bear that in mind. Normal tank commanders, same old, same old. Now you do also, your troop choices, you do not get access to conscripts, which I think is a bit strange, because Death Korps of Krieg are meant to be sort of World War One styly wave attacks, which conscripts lend themselves to very nicely. But Krieg are meant to be kind of an elite regiment, not a conscript regiment. But I still think they should have access to large infantry squads, but they don't. What you do get access to is the Death Korps infantry squad, which is an interesting unit. You can't take heavy weapons in it. But which is tactically inflexible. But your sergeant can take a las gun. So that's important to know. I know that'll make a lot of people's eyes light up. You also come stock with weapon skill 3+. And you can take platoon standards in infantry squads, and which gives you +1 leadership. Yeah, kind of cool. Okay. Also, your sergeant has a ballistic skill 3+, which is kind of interesting. Very interesting unit. Problem, they've got that weapon skill 3+, and they can't get access to heavy weapons, which makes you think, ooh, I want to be in close combat. But the thing is that when you get to close combat, you start losing guys to leadership. And 10 guardsmen, even on 3+, isn't, great in combat. You could have a priest with them, Ministerstorm priest, which would help things. And there are ways to make a combat Krieg army, work, but it's difficult to say the least. Guard will always be better at shooting. So how I see the Death Korps combat working is really, you want to look at it as almost a counter-attack rather than an attack. Okay? You want to be shooting the shit out of people, and then when they get close to you, you counter-charge them. Although, you can pull off a good bayonet charge Death Korps, but don't... It's the best way of thinking about it. Don't use Death Korps of Krieg infantry units as close combat monsters. Use your shooting to cripple enemy units and then finish them off with a bayonet charge. Okay? The one thing to mention about Death Korps infantry is they are 1 point more expensive than infantry squads. Okay? So over the course of a pure infantry list, that gets expensive. Because if you take 3 full battalions of these guys, which you probably want to be doing, you're spending 180 points more than your regular guard counterpart. So your regular guard counterpart could take 40 more infantry with upgrades, and your regular guard counterpart will be using first rank fire, second rank fire, and you won't be. So you might be fearless to lead, fearless to shooting. You might have a 3+ weapon skill. And you might have crazy ways of getting good in close combat. But at the end of the day, you're just not slinging as many bullets down, or las beams down range, which is such a counterweight. Okay. One thing to mention is the all Krieg units come with crack grenades. Okay, which means you could use the Grenadier stratagem. So one infantry squad could throw 10 crack grenades, which is actually surprisingly good amount of anti-tank in a pinch. Now your second troop choice is a Death Corps Grenadier Storm Squad. I will sum these guys up shortly. Okay, they are Tempestus Scions that cannot deep strike, but can only take 2 special weapons no matter the squad size. Okay, now these guys, interestingly, even though they've got hotshot lasguns, so they've only got an 18-inch range, these are the guys you almost want to be putting your Without Mercy on. Okay, because they all get 2 hotshot lasgun shots at 18-inch range. Okay, and the great thing about these guys is they are 1 point cheaper. They are 1 point cheaper than Scions. They're 8 points per model, which is still expensive, but they come with that 4+ armor save. They're fearless to, being shot at, and they can do damage in combat if given half a chance. And they're a troop choice. They got OBSEC, which is really, really good. These guys are hardcore infantry. There's 2 ways you can run them: 5-man squads in the little Centaur carriers, or massive wave after wave of 10-man squads. And I wouldn't even give them any special weapons. I take, keep them cheap, 80 points, 10 guys, and just keep them slinging out hotshot lasgun shots at 18-inch range. Think about it this way, okay? Regular infantry squad, guard infantry squad, with las cannon and plasma gun, go big, go home strategy, 6-7 points. For just 13 points more, you could take 10 Grenadiers who have got better ballistic skill, be slinging out more rifle shots downrange, better armor save, and are OBSEC as well, and won't be running away. So that's what you want to think about. Think about this: Grenadier Storm Squads dug into cover have got a 3+ armor save. That's what I mean. They're there for storming up the field, taking objectives that are in cover, and just holding them. That's what they're good at. They're not close combat units. They're just mid-range firefight winners. Now, in the elite section, you get access to Death Corps Command Squad. Now, these guys are really weird. They don't get access to a heavy flamer or a medipack or heavy weapons teams. The only reason you really want... They're kind of underwhelming, to be honest. They've only got a 5+ armor save. They are veterans, but they only can take 2 special weapons. The only real reason to take these guys is the regimental standard. And what this does is the regimental standard means everyone within 6 inches gets +1 attack. So when you combine this with a priest, you're getting +2 attacks on everyone within 6 inches of these 2 units. This does affect Death Riders. +2 attacks on your Death Riders. It does affect them. It affects everyone with a Death Corps Regiment trait. So that's the reason to take them. Now, that sounds fantastic, but remember, these guys are 4 men, and they do not have the character keyword, which means they can just be targeted. So your opponent, if they know about these guys, will just target them and will just kill them. It's not hard to kill 4 guardsmen. Interestingly, I think these guys are actually tournament competitive, and I'll tell you why. Because people won't know what they do. People won't know it. People won't, unless someone has faced it before, it will catch them out. And Deathcore Krieg don't do a lot of rounds at the tournament circuit. So the first time you play this, it'll work, and then after that, it won't work. But when you're playing a tournament, you're pretty much only going to have to, the opponent's only going to face it once. They won't get a chance to learn from it. That's the interesting thing about it. Deathcore Combat Engineer Squads. This is like another elite unit, kind of like Stormtroopers, but with shotguns. And they have this amazing. They've got this amazing ability called Carcass Shot, which means everything on a 2+. Okay, everything on 2+. But the problem is that it has Get Hot, so you die if you roll a 1. But you could get Yarick and get reroll 1s to hit, and be absolutely fine. You can also use the Grenadier stratagem to toss up to 10 acid grenades. Acid grenades are absolutely fantastic. They just melt through absolutely anything. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now because I am overrunning a little bit on time, but really, really, you should look into the capability of these guys with the ability to wound things on a 2+, and for acid grenades. They're really, really good. They're really, really, really good. These guys are sort of the hidden gem in the Deathcore of Krieg. A lot of hardcore, long-time Krieg commanders don't leave home without 3 squads of these guys. They're expensive, but you point them at something, it just dies. Okay, and they can only cost 7 points per model. Okay, that's what's great. Deathcore Death Rider Command Squad. It's like it's basically a 4-man Deathcore Death Rider squad. The reason you would take them, I suppose, is because it means you can get more Death Riders. Otherwise, you can only take 3 squads of normal Death Riders. This allows you to get 3 more command squads. Deathcore Quartermaster Cadre. This is very interesting. It's 1 guy, 4 servitors. Forget the servitors; they're not that important. But the 1 guy, they wound things on a 2+ in combat. But the guy gives everyone around him, everyone within 6 inches, a 6+ feel no pain. Taking 3 battalions of, with a mix of Grenadiers and regular infantry, and sticking in the middle of each one of these battalions, a quartermaster, is cheese. It means you've got a bunch of fearless infantry, which have got 4+, 5+ armor saves, and they've got 6+ feel no pain. Really does help. There's some other stuff you can get. Things like the Atlas Recovery Tank allows you to heal D3 wounds. Hades Breaching Drill Squad. It's a vehicle which comes with a squad of veterans, and they come with they can deep strike in. Okay, and the Hades drill itself has some incredible melee potential. It's got D6, hits on a 3+, strength 10, AP -4, melee attacks. There's a 4+ and vulnerable in the fight phase. It's pretty durable. It's got 7 wounds to the 7, 3+ save. The veterans are not great, but I believe you can take engineers with them. I believe you can take engineers instead of the veterans that it comes with normally. So that's how you get your veterans into range. You're not veterans. That's how you get your engineers into range, because they only have shotguns. You put them with a drill. Okay. Looking through other stuff that they get. Deathcore of Krieg Commissar Death Rider. It's a commissar on a big fucking death machine. It's pretty good. Deathcore Storm Chimera. It's okay. It's very expensive in comparison to a regular Chimera. Okay, does get an autocannon, and you can get improved armor, which means you get a 2+ save versus weapons of strength 4 or less. Okay. That's about it. So bear in mind, if you think you're going to be facing a lot of small arms, it's great, but otherwise, not too worried about it. Not really worth the price hike, in my opinion. The Centaur Light Assault Carrier is the transport of choice for the Death Korps of Krieg. It is a 54. It's 54 points. It's got 6 wounds. It doesn't degrade. I don't believe it degrades. Okay. It has. Just making sure. Yeah, it's got less than 10 wounds, so it doesn't degrade. It's 54 points, but it comes with 2 heavy stubbers, and it can transport 5 guys. It's awesome. And it can scout 9 inches before the game even starts. So it's really good. That's the Death Korps Light Assault Carrier. The Centaur Light Carrier, again, it's got a... So I think it's pretty much the same thing, to be honest. Yeah, it's the same thing. But it can take... the Centaur Light Carrier is for hauling around artillery. Yeah, okay. Death Korps, Death Riders, we've kind of talked about them. They're just really boosted up. Death Korps of Krieg units, Death Korps Krieg Rough Riders. They get plus 1 weapon skill, toughness, attacks, and save. Okay, they do not get chainswords, but they do get plus 1 attack on the lances. So that means you don't get chainswords, but you do get more lance attacks, which is great. The only problem is that the 16 points per guy, where Rough Riders are 10 points. So keep that in the back of your mind. Death Korps get access to just an unholy amount of artillery. Unholy. You get access to 4 static artillery bits, along with a whole host of other artillery. Now, I'm not going to cover the units which everyone can take. I will cover the units that are pretty much unique to the Death Korps, which is the Heavy Mortar Battery. It's a heavy mortar. Strength 6, A for -2, D3 damage. The Quad Launcher is interesting. It's also known as Thud Gun. It's only 10 points cheaper than a Wyvern. So bear that in mind. It is very good at clearing infantry, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. Earthshaker Carriage is like a static Earthshaker. It used to be cheaper than a Basilisk, and now it's more expensive, but has all the disadvantages of not being able to move. Yeah, give it a miss. And Medusa Carriage. Medusa is really good at cracking open tanks. It's like a sort of long range demolisher cannon. Problem is by long range I mean it's 36-inch range, so it's not great. The problem with all the static artillery is that other units have come down in price and they have stayed the same. So 72 points for a heavy mortar, kind of smart, just under 100 points for a quad launcher, kind of a high price. 121 for Earthshaker Carriage. It's difficult. It's difficult though, and they're immobile, so your opponent can avoid them. Or they can't escape. They can't escape when they're locked up in combat. They're locked up. Your opponent can really take advantage of that. I'm not going to go into things like the Gorgon Heavy Transport and the Macarius family. I know that those things are traditionally used by Death Korps Krieg, but they are not unique to Death Korps of Krieg, and they will be covered in their own videos. Okay, I'll ask you to talk about Death Korps Krieg, Lehman Russ, Mars, Alpha Pattern battle tanks. It's a normal battle tank. Okay, and you can customize it how you see fit. Although the Vanquisher cannon, you can take that with a coaxial heavy stubber, so it's actually useful. The thing is, it has the same extra armor that the Storm Chimera has, which is it gets a 2+ save against weapons of strength 4 or lower. Okay, so the Deathcore Krieg have got a hell of a lot of unique weapon options and a hell of a lot of unique unit options. They are not just a reskinned guard army. They do require significantly different playstyle. Don't see them a lot of tournaments, which tends to make me think that they're not super tournament competitive. How would I rank them against the other regiments? I'd say solid mid. Solid mid tier. They can't. The big problem is the Deathcore Crew have got all these amazing cool rules, right? But you're forced to pay the points for them, and you might not want to. They're inflexible in that regard. You know, they are inflexible in that regard. You know, you're paying that extra point per guardsman, but what if you don't want the weapon skill 3+? You know, that's something you're paying for that you don't want. The thing that makes regular guards so good is you get what you pay for. Okay, you buy the basic bitch units, and then you stack on lots of stuff on top of them, and you customize them how you want. Deathcore Krieg don't have that tactical flexibility. A Deathcore Krieg unit is always going to be an assault. An assault, in inverted commas, in open quotations, an assault unit, because it doesn't have a heavy weapon. Okay, a regular Imperial Guard infantry squad can be anything. It can be an assault unit, it can be cannon fodder, it can be long range fire support. You know, it can be indirect fire support. It can be an objective holder, it can be an objective taker. Deathcore Krieg, Deathcore Krieg infantry squads will get outshot by regular Guard infantry squads, but they cost more. You know, Deathcore Krieg, your trait that you don't take leadership tests for shooting, fantastic, okay, but Guard can do it as well by taking units that Guard are going to be taking anyway, like Lord Commissars, and basically remove leadership out of the equation. It's not hard for Guard to not worry about leadership. So again, you're paying for an ability that, you know, that is kind of situational. It's very good, don't get me wrong, it's very good, but Krieg are a kind of situational army, and they don't know what they want to do. You know, they want to try and be good in combat, and you know, you've got these abilities to get all these extra attacks, but they're only strength 3. I mean, sure, you hit on weapon skill 3+, great, but you're only strength 3. The reason the Catachan close combat army of Doom works is because it's strength 4. It wounds anything that isn't a knight on a 5+, which makes a huge difference. Most vehicles you encounter will be toughness 7 and toughness 6, which means you wound them on 5s. Deathcore Krieg, you can land as many attacks as you want. You're not going to get those wounds through. It does mean that Deathcore Krieg sergeants are very good, though. You know, that's the big thing. Deathcore Krieg sergeants are really good. That's what I mean. They're kind of a bipolar army. They want to try and be in close combat, but you're in the guards, son. You're going to be shooting things. You know, trying to make a close combat guard army work can be very, very difficult. Okay. Yeah, Catachan do the close combat thing better than you. That's the problem. Because Catachan have access to ways of getting 2 extra attacks per guy, but both of those sources are in characters, so they can't be targeted. Whereas your +1 attack from your command squads is going to be countered oh so very fucking easily. And it's a regimental standard, it's a big flag. The enemy's going to notice it, they're going to want to kill it. So that's slightly the problem with it. Yeah, I'd also say Deathcore Krieg, the slight problem with the trait is simply because it only does one thing. Being a Deathcore vehicle doesn't really help you. You know, it doesn't really help you. All the other regiments, they get two buffs. typically one for infantry, one for tanks. Look at Valhallans. Krieg don't get that. Pardon me, they just get good infantry. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think. I hope I've covered most things in Krieg. It's a long regiment review, this one, but it's, you know, it's a very, very in-depth regiment. I am not an expert at Krieg. I have been looking into them more and more. If I was to run them, I would run as much infantry as I could get my hands on, and then take as many tanks as I could get my hands on. Okay, and use your fearless screens of infantry and shove them down the enemy's throat whilst your tanks bombard them from afar. That's what I would do. And I would have it so your tanks draw so much firepower, the enemy doesn't have time to target your crappy little command squads, and then by the time that they know how good those command squads and priest combos are, it's too late. They've got 100 plus guardsmen chopping them up in close combat. I'd put power weapons on my sergeants. Take advantage of the weapon skill 3 plus power weapons. You know, maybe power axes, power mauls, not sure, but I definitely would take power weapons on the Death Corps Krieg Watchmasters, the sergeants. I would definitely take the quartermasters. Like I said, I would take, if I was running a Death Corps Krieg army, I'd take 3 battalions. In each battalion, I would have, you know, maybe Grenadiers, but at the very least, I would have 6 infantry squads, a priest, 2 officers, and a quartermaster. I'd take that 3 times. Whatever I had left over, I'd take tank commanders and battle tanks. That's what I'd do. Maybe take the engineers and deep strike them in with the drill. Take 3 squads of them as well. That's what I would do. That's the way I think you make Krieg competitive. Waves of infantry, tanks, and pop it and underground units, and just make it so that your infantry are firing so many shots, and then they close the distance, they get into combat, and they're just chopping people up. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sure I've missed lots and lots and lots. Any of you Death Corps of Krieg veterans out there need to, if you could, please put some comments down below and give some tips and tricks out there for potential new Death Corps of Krieg commanders. Thank you for listening, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.